All right, hello, welcome. This is a game on the Gauntlet. We are playing Hack the Planet, which is a Forge in the Dark hack by Fraser Simmons. This game is called, or these four sessions are going to be called Reap What Was Sown. And so this is the first session, which is going to be largely character and crew creation, or in general a lot of world creation. We're working. This is also kind of a playtest. We're working off drafts from Fraser's game, which is in the works now. Yeah. As this is a Gauntlet game, we're going to be using like the Gauntlet inclusivity policies in effect, and we're going to be using the X card as a safety tool. So because we're playing to find out what happens, if something comes up that doesn't sit right with you, that is a detriment to your enjoyment of the game, you can X card it by going like this, or writing an X in chat, or simply just saying out loud, I want to X card that. Then we jump back, remove it, whatever it was, and you don't have to further explain yourself what it is, and we move on from there. Yeah. So I think we talked a little bit beforehand about, had a couple of minutes to chat already. You all have the Roll20 thing up. There's in the handouts basic overview for character creation and crew creation. And the two crews we're going to be deciding on are the Comets and Shifters. But maybe as a start, I'll read a little bit about short segment about the setting in general. The known reach of humanity. Once near the center of a continent, a long, thin stretch of land that borders an unstabilized and unmapped landscape, and the coast that is consistently being encroached upon by the ever-rising sea. This is the known world for the inhabitants of the Reach. Rapid shifts in climate have changed this swath of land into radicalized locales. From desert to flooded terrain, humanity has had to adapt to a new world. This stabilized territory is called the Reach because this small section of the Earth is now what comprises the known stabilized world for the people who reside in it. Much of the landscape was changed due to what became known as acts of God. As our climate became radicalized, it resulted in more than just heavy weather. Earthquakes, tornadoes, rising seawater, and the changes in rainfall, to name a few, resulted in the destabilization of governments and banks and the halting of technological progress. Everything that could be mastered by what was left of governments was hurled at the problem, too late. The internet was destroyed and huge amounts of data was ultimately lost. The landscape was altered irrevocably and continues to be changed by these acts of God. But there is also Shelter One, a massive facility initially created for climate refugees and a bastion crafted by corporations and the super-rich. As Shelter One was fortified and the area was slowly stabilized into an area where people now try to craft a new kind of life with what the environment has provided. These forces have slowly been changing the shelter into a megacity. Elsewhere in the Reach, people live with varying degrees of success. Yeah, so this is a basic setup of the setting. By the way, you can also pop out the things, the handouts, if you need to manage them. Might be easier. And in the factions handout, you get a little bit of primer on the individual factions that are there. we might be creating more depending on our needs and how everyone feels. So we got 2 crew types as a choice here, and we're still very open which we're taking. By the way, is it Mikhail or Mikhail? How do I correctly pronounce it?
Mikael.
Mikhail?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Both those sounds fine by me.
Okay, cool. The 2 crew types we have available are shifters, who are nomads following acts of God, and comets, who are scroungers and thieves who basically go out to harvest a fuel source from the acts of God. Do we have preferences there, or preferences in the playbooks? Something that jumps out at anyone?
You said that the comets were they were more of a storm chaser type of crew. Was that so?
They both kind of focus on that, like going. It could be storms, could be other natural phenomena, right? That is kind of still up to discuss. But both of them are. One tries to nomadically follow them.
Yeah.
Which there is a big question why.
Yeah.
And the other one, the Comets are the ones who try to profit off of them, right? You have some kind of trick that, or some kind of knowledge, something that lets you go to them and extract a fuel source, which you then probably potentially could sell for profit.
Yeah. The Comet seems to be potentially airbound, or?
Yeah, Comets get to have an airship out of the gate, which also sounds cool.
And shifters,
they have a whole convoy.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the airship also gets hidden. So your lair is hidden, or maybe your airship is your lair, then that would be hidden. So maybe that's of interest. I see some nodding.
No, invisible airship sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, agree.
Or not invisible, but sneaky
Yeah.
airship.
So is that?
Does that sounds like half a decision for Comets?
I'm trying to find the airship. Where did I read that? Was that in the comics? The
That's
Comets?
one of
Sorry, the Comets.
The Comets have an airship,
Yeah, I mean for the Comets. If everyone else is for it.
Yeah, I'm fine with either. I like both of them.
It sounds like we're all equally okay with playing any of them. So
Great.
let's go Comets. So we're done.
Comets, yeah. I think they might be a little easier to handle in a short arc that we have.
Yeah.
Unless you want to like run a convoy into the ground. It's also potentially possible.
No, Comets sounds cool.
Yeah. I think I'll put the Comets on the playmat. So we can just mark on stuff on it there. And for your individual characters, under characters there are modified Blades character sheets. The main differences are in the items, friends, and gather information, and obviously special abilities. There are a few differently named actions, like in Hexaplanet, it's Trace, not Hunt. It's Ghost, not Prowl. And it's Control, not Command, and it's Hack, not Attune. I think that was all of them. Or it might be Combat instead of Skirmish. Yeah. Oh, and Modify instead of Tinker. And maybe I'll get them done on the playmat as well. But that's less important for character creation and stuff.
What characters are you guys interested in playing?
I was looking at Lens or maybe Edge, but I don't see any here I'd be unhappy playing. Do you have leanings?
I'm looking at the Feint and the Outlier currently.
That is step 1. Choose a playbook.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to play the Outlier. If nobody else is challenging me for it.
All yours.
All yours.
That one looks very cool.
Absolutely.
So we have an Outlier.
So was that you, Mikael?
Yep.
Deciding on the Outlier?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I was reading at the same time. I only heard voices. Okay. What do you say, Ryan? You any?
Oh, I was looking at Lens or Edge, but I'm curious which one you're gonna take.
Yeah. So I normally explore games through new games to me through some sort of basic character types.
Punch it till you figure out the rules.
Exactly, but not only rules, but also to get a sort of a neutral experience or fairly neutral. But that might not be the case here because it's quite a specific setting with.
So what you might want to look at when you look at characters is a little bit hidden. If you scroll down to the Mark XP section, this might be one of the most interesting sections for choosing what playbook you want to take.
Yeah.
Because the second one tells you get XP when you're playing the Edge, for example, when you address the challenge with violence or coercion. So that's definitely a signal. Set how you want to play it. Do you want to get rewards for that? Then maybe this is the playbook for you. Instead of like reading all the details about every special ability, which we probably won't get to all of them anyways in the course of 4 session.
Cool. Yeah.
And the other thing that might be interesting, because it's also kind of tucked away to the right, is the friends you have, because you're going to get to pick one that's an actual friend and not just a contact, and one that's going to be a rival.
Okay, so I'm looking at the Tort or the Fuse, maybe. I haven't decided yet.
Yeah, so you both are looking at 2 very different playbooks, unless with this additional information.
Yeah.
I mean, the Torque looks awesome, but I'm playing a Leech in my other game, so I'm going to try not to double up on that.
So I think I'm going to go with the Fuse, actually. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Fuse. That's normally not my approach, but it will give me something to think of. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going with the Fuse.
Stealthy character, right?
Yeah. Stealth infiltrator.
Yeah, which is very much in line of where the fiction is probably going to be at times.
Mm-hmm.
So that's...
Then I'll go Lens. I suppose.
Nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, the second part of this is now second step would be choose a heritage in blades. This is where it diverges a little bit, and I'm going to post you the it's called roots in Hack the Planet. Where did I have this? Here. I'll post in the Hangouts chat and tell you words about them. Yeah, so if your root are tippers, they're the ones that contributed to the climate change for sure. If root is foundation, they are ones that helped build the shelter. Grasshopper are refugees that came by land. Wet refugees that came from across the water. And foundation means you grew up in a community close to shelter one.
Did you say wet was the one coming from the sea?
Yes.
You said, I think you mentioned foundation as two different things. You mentioned them twice.
Did I?
Yeah, I think you said first that foundations was among the people who based the shelter one, and then you mentioned them again. I think, or did I misunderstand that?
I heard foundation twice and no forged. So
Yeah. Okay.
one of those is forged.
Yeah, I think then. Yeah, that's because it's wrong in the text I have here.
Oh, sound was a little bit broken up.
So foundation are, let's say, foundation are the ones that helped build the shelter, and forged are the ones that grew up in the community close to shelter one.
Outside or?
Yes,
inside?
outside, but
Outside.
close to, like in the perimeter of.
All right. So we just pick one, or yeah.
Yep, and there is an additional XP trigger here. If your root gets you into trouble in game, it can function as an giving you XP, like if you would get, like as if you would get into trouble for your vice or traumas. Then you choose a background. That's a detail specific to your history, right? Maybe like what you learned to be, or what you learned to do, or it's not like where you're like people came from or heritage, but what you are personally, your past history before probably joining this crew or getting caught up with them, whatever the case may be.
So did we get any options for that, or?
No, there are no real options for that yet.
The ones you mentioned, were they heritage or were they backgrounds?
They were heritage.
Yeah, okay. Good.
So another way to think about this is in the next step, we'll get to assign additional action dots.
Mhm.
And one guideline is to say, okay, so I put one action dot into something that is has to do with my root or heritage, right? And I put one action dot into that is about my background, right? So I don't know, like if you learn to work electronics, you might put that in modify, for example, right? If that's something that you're thinking of. And fortunately, dark games are very much about pick something. You find out through play who your character is. Like you don't need to get too deep or too revolutionary. And I'm making up a super unique character right here on the spot, right? And that'll come through play. Do you
just pin something down, or do you want us to discuss it?
Well, let's hear it, right? If because it might inform each other. What were you thinking about your heritage and background, Christian?
I can go first.
Sure.
I am a wet. I think there's a character's name is Samaria, and I think that he comes like from one of those Pacific islands that went down in the sea pretty like early during like the climate change when the effects became apparent, and she used to work as a climate researcher. But that's not very useful now, since
well, yeah.
So I put an extra point in consort for the wet. I think she was like a community leader or something like that there, because she had like a pretty good education and stuff, which was not that normal there, at least at that level, and one level and study for climate researcher.
And what the other thing you can do then is, if you already have a name, you can also edit the sheet and put the name in the. Or I can do that for you as well if you prefer.
I can do it.
How about the others? Ryan, do you have an idea where you want to take your lens?
I'm still sort of mulling it over. I think the grasshopper heritage.
I'm
not totally sure about background yet.
I picked. Or were you saying something, Ryan? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm done. Continue on.
Yeah. All right. I'm thinking of a forge heritage. So, and with a militia or military background. So I'm thinking maybe my fuse was recruited at an early age outside the shelter. One of those rundown temporary towns that gets that increases in size over the years. Sort of, or are they forged? What do you call them? Some sort of not. I'm looking for the word. Like temporary shack town, or what do you call it? The forged community that is.
So I think they're called forged because not much of them survives once an act of God hits. So those that are survived are kind of like the metal that has gone through a forge. That's my interpretation right now.
Okay.
Right? It all gets burned away, swept away. So I think it sounds like hardy folk, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it almost makes me almost think like if the acts of God are the hammer, Shelter 1 is the anvil, and you're in between.
All right. Okay. So I was maybe recruited as a scout or something like that for some recon forces.
Yeah,
maybe?
and this could have been like your folks might have been forged, but you were very soon pressed into someone's militia force.
Yeah.
If you look at the factions, there might also be a couple of them that are potentially interesting for you.
Yeah. I could imagine like a military career could be the only way out of the forged community, maybe. One of the few, yeah. So he didn't have much choice.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm gonna put a name here.
yeah, and you get to spend a put an action dot into something.
So what? How many points in total? One for the forge.
So you get basically one for the heritage, one for your background,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a slight difference in blades. 2 blades is, I think you only get one additional one that you can spend freely.
Mm-hmm.
But then we'll talk about cybernetics. You could get more stuff through that.
So I put out 2 dots now.
2 dots now, yeah.
Okay.
And an additional third one you get to spend. And you max turn character creation is 2 dots. Except through cybernetics. I'll allow cybernetics to push if you really want to dial down on one specific aspect through cybernetics. I think that sounds reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Go above.
And when you say action dots, is that the vertical row on the left?
That is that's actually the horizontal. So insight, prowess, and resolve are attributes, and study, survey, those are actions.
Okay, so I put them in the vertical row. Then it should be on the horizontal.
Well, you started out with a couple of ones that I already put in there that are given to you.
Yeah.
You get to add to them.
Yeah. Should I put them into the horizontal or?
Well, it depends. So you choose if you want to put them into finesse, prowl, skirmish, or wreck, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So then you put them into the horizontal lines and not the vertical ones.
Okay. All right.
The vertical ones will be used for resistance rolls, but we'll get to that later.
Okay.
Right.
So I add my points on top of the ones that you pre-configured the.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
And then you get a third one to spend freely.
Mm-hmm.
Which the idea is, okay, something to round out your character. Yeah. And you can get a fourth one if you give up on 1 point, total point of stress. And that would then be as a cybernetic enhancement.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go for that.
I put in a third here as well. I'm really not sure if I done this right. But...
Oh, you need to. Well, let's look at them.
Yeah.
So I just need to
put in a third as well, as you said.
Yeah. So as you're the fuse, you should have 1 point in study, 1 point in finesse, and 1 point in ghost. And ghost is prowl.
Mm-hmm.
So you put in 1 point into hunt or trace.
Yeah, hunt.
And 1 point into wreck, and another point into ghost. Yeah, that looks
Makes sense.
Fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mikael. Are you going for some cybernetics? Looks like.
I don't. Yeah. Oh, did I? Yeah, I guess we could have a cybernetic. Let's do that. I mean, I have 9 stress slots. Then that's how it goes, right?
Yeah, you can change that actually. If you go to the little gear at the top, you can actually change the number of stress boxes you have available.
There it's 9. Yeah.
Yeah, I want cybernetics too, and one more dot in resolve somewhere. How do I take off a stress box? I just take it.
Do you see the gear at the top?
Yep.
If you go there, the second row, you can. It only shows up. Yeah, you probably have to then constantly have one filled out and remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Can't take.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I'll put one in and add one in. Attune, is that hack then? I heard something.
Yes. Yeah. Attune is hack and hack the planet.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. I imagine as a fuse that I would probably have some sort of interaction ability with
Yeah.
technology.
How do Mikael, you chose seasoned to get no worries. We'll get to that next. I was confusing something. Ryan, how are you feeling with the?
I think I've worked stuff out mostly. I'm, like I said, going grasshopper, and I think my background is that I was sort of a climate holdout, living in an area that was becoming increasingly inhospitable, which is why I have Survivor. Through hard-won experience or custom tech, can live in uninhabitable places and have higher stress. And I picked the name Frog because I was thinking like Alaskan wood frogs are capable of being frozen solid and melting out, that I'm from very, very cold areas. I'm just used to being very tough, very kind of subsistence focused, not so good with society so much anymore. Sort of
nice.
Almost Future Ranger style.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what kind of background that points to besides background making up my own term.
Yeah, feel free to do that, right? And we can explore more what that weird term you made up means during play. So that's fine. Yeah, exactly. I think that sounds perfect. Then you get to put in 3 additional points. One should relate to heritage. One should relate to your background. And you can, on the right-hand side, basically put them into one of those actions. Yeah, and Prowl is called Ghost and Hack the Planet, for example, right? So, but it covers largely the same stuff, physical activities, as well as sneaking around.
I figured moving without drawing too much attention, probably important. And put my other in survey, I guess.
Oh, maybe one important thing to remember.
Called survey.
Yeah, because you're all going to be, as Comets, you'll have an airship. Typically in Blades, the action that's being used to steer something is finesse. So maybe someone should be able to pilot the airship.
Put a point in finesse then, saying that maybe at some point I commandeered, I don't know, a future snowmobile or something.
Yeah.
Used to driving things.
You get 3 additional ones, so you can even
I
put
get one more
somewhere.
Okay.
And you also get the option if you have any cybernetics on you to put another dot somewhere for those at the cost of a permanent stress.
Yeah, I'm a Luddite as well as climate holdout, I'll say.
Cool. Then you get to choose a special ability. And these are the ones listed under special abilities. You can pick one of those. If none of those make sense to you or your character concept, just tell me. Can look at the others as well. But these are basically in Blades, the playbooks are very much like, yes, here's a good guideline for making a character that gets XP in that kind of way, and it's helpful. There are ways to break out of that if you feel the need for it.
I grabbed Survivor and edited my stress track accordingly because that seemed appropriate.
Cool. So you all picked. Did you all pick cybernetics to get another action dot? By the way.
Not me.
Oh, not you. Right. Okay. We can talk later about when we introduce what that looks like. That is it. Yeah. Do the other two? Have you chosen a special ability? Something?
I have a little bit of a hard time like seeing these into like this tech scientist kind of character. But I don't like quite what these acts of God are. I mean, this is obviously some kind of like religious character or whatever.
So the acts of God are not necessarily. I just named that. They are just super awesome, huge weather phenomena that are highly destructive and extreme. And they are still happening. You don't need to play this as a religious aspect.
Cool.
It's more than a.
I assume that was sort of like the insurance writer saying they protect you from acts of God, only now everything's an act of God.
Yeah, exactly.
I go with season then, which is you studied and experienced acts of God before. When you gather info regarding acts of God, take +1 die and +1 effect.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense with the climate researcher. And Franco.
Yes.
Do you have an idea for what special ability?
Yeah, I was just pondering a bit. What sort of opposition could we expect to meet? Like, what's it centered around? Is it some sort of environmental freakish monstrosities, or is it more like corporation stuff? Or?
Yeah, more corporations. The Shelter 1 is being led by a council, which is kind of made up out of 3 corporations. or mega corporations. And for short, they're the NIS. It's one mega corporation is Nourish. That's just responsible for getting food. One is the I stands for information. Like they're the ones who actually, maybe they've launched a new satellite into orbit, maybe right, but then they have a monopoly on that kind of information. And safety, which is the ones who make sure that people that aren't supposed to be in districts in Shelter 1 that they don't belong in aren't there, but also they're responsible for making sure that the city's fortified against acts of God and stuff like that. So they're basically the ones you will most likely be operating against. Like they're the civil power in a sense, and also the governmental power. And then there are also these other factions in the faction handout where the higher tier ones are other ones, but there are also like lower tiers. Right there, the Red Leaves. They are a group of thieves and antiquarians who operate a pawn shop as a front in order to unravel more lost knowledge. And which is just a tier 1. Like they're established. You aren't established. They are established, but you're kind of almost at their level.
Okay.
So you'll be competing against other people who are trying to survive, and against the higher tier ones that are actually calling the shots on a larger scale.
All right.
And
so,
the other part is obviously the climate stuff, right? The acts of God, surviving those, and or getting there, because that's obviously one of your special abilities.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm thinking. I'm thinking maybe a synthetic shell or a silhouette. Synthetic shell gives me partial camouflage. No, it shifts my partial camouflage into active, becoming invisible for a few moments. Or silhouette. You may expend your special armor to resist the consequence from detection or security measures, or to push yourself for a feat of athletics or stealth. I think I'll go with the silhouette.
Okay, cool.
So some sort of jamming equipment with some sort of exoskeleton stuff, or what could that be? With the feet?
Yeah. It's also innate ability, right? Because also enables you for feats of athletics or stealth. So, but it can be a combination. It's up to you to describe and decide that when it comes into play.
I'll make some notes of it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you can interpret it what sounds best or most interesting to you, I think. It'll just inform our fictional positioning.
I'll do with a synthetic exoskeleton then. Like very slim, not very protruding or so, but still like on the outside.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Then next up, you get to choose a close friend and a rival. Mark the one who's a close friend, long-term ally, family relation, or lover, the upward pointing triangle, and mark one who's a rival, enemy, scorned lover, betrayed partner, etc., the downward pointing triangle. They're on the right-hand side. And this is where I'll need to take the most notes, because this is one of the most interesting bits. Character creation for me. Also, we've been going for a while. If you want to, do you want to take a break and think about this for 5 minutes, and then we'll resume?
Yeah, I need to get a recharger for my laptop as well. So that
Yeah,
will
then let's just use that and
get
see
back
you
in.
in 5.
Yeah, super. See you soon. Yeah, I'm here. I just want to say that my kids are still up, so I'll just
Sure.
turn off my mic for a few more minutes, and then I'll come back right in.
Yep. Yeah, we're still waiting on Ryan, I think. Oh.
I'm here.
There you are. Yep. Cool. So anybody have an idea about their friend and friend?
Yeah. Ishan Data Tattooist is my friend. I think I think we were like a part of this. I think we were lovers actually.
Ishan is your friend. Okay.
Yeah.
Lover.
And Arya, a reclaimer, is my enemy.
So the first question I still so Ishan is that comes to use lover.
Mm-hmm.
Is your lover he, she, they?
I I think it's a she actually.
Yep. And this is an active relationship. You're still in a relationship.
Yeah. It's not like a constant, but I mean it's like this. It's like it's still there. It's just like we see each other not for like 2 months, and then suddenly, like maybe for like a week, being
This is
together.
this is a friends with benefits situation.
Yeah, or just like a product of Samaria's life as well. Being like constantly like around and doing things.
So Ishan might. So is she someone who's said like, "Hey, maybe find some other line of work, then we could be like tighter," or is Ishan kind of fine with the distance there is?
I mean, I think she's not really that fine with Samara being that unreliable. But I mean, I'm not sure if they have been like actively trying to like tie her down directly. It's more like I wish you be like that. I could trust you to be here when you're saying you're gonna be here, kind of situation. I think.
Okay, I can do it quickly now, maybe. Or sorry, were you done?
Sure, if you want to go, I have more questions about Aerie.
I'm sorry. No, please. Please. It's just that my kids were away for 2 seconds.
Yeah. What about Aerie? Let me put them. Like, is this a rivalry? Is this an enemy? Is this what is this?
I think we had like we had like a friendly professional relationship, and then I screwed him over by being unreliable. I think like we had this deal about me getting something for him, and then I like didn't do it, and I don't think like it was like that was why we have a rivalry, but like I also didn't inform him, or just like I just like completely, oh well, I mean, yeah.
So it's like so he's like, or you technically owe him still something, and then
Yeah, that's the way he sees it.
Yeah. Of course.
Mm.
What does a reclaimer do?
I think pretty much they're like a item hitman, I guess, like someone who goes to like reclaim stolen goods, so like things that their people will see as theirs. So like mostly like rich people who if people steal something from them, but also just like also, you know, take back things that were theirs.
Yeah.
Like property, or like, I don't know, resources and stuff. I mean, oh, that used to be in the company that I were blah blah blah, and then they just like take it from whoever like built stuff there or whatever.
Yeah. By the way, do people call you Samaria, or does it get shortened to Sam?
I think actually, I mean, I don't let anyone call me Sam. But yeah, it's a thing that people like automatically do, I think, because it's like simple, and people just assume that Sam is okay. I have like a professional like kind of nickname, which is like the Samaritan. It used to be the Good Samaritan, but yeah.
Well,
it's become a bit more like gray shaded, so it's just the Samaritan now.
Okay. Then Franco, you.
Yeah. I did some. I was thinking that as a stealth infiltrator and a militia recruit, he was maybe in service of a larger corporation, something like that, and he dealt with information. So I said that his friend is Hansch, a data broker. And yeah, sorry for that. And no, it's just a good night. Yeah. Oh. Catalina, a hacker and a former lover.
Well, tell me about Hansch first, right? Why are you good friends?
Hansch.
Hansch or Hans? I don't know.
Hansch.
Yeah.
Hansch, yeah. He saved my ass once at one time when I got into a little bit too deep waters. So he managed to take care of some. Let's see. He managed to take care of some info blocks or something, some sort of information that I wasn't supposed to have, and he managed to tag that in some way, so someone else got the blame, and I owe him for that.
Oh, so he altered
exactly.
Or something,
Exactly. So like things a little bit over my head, and he saved my ass, basically.
What does he like about you?
Oh, good question. Maybe that I am I'm loyal to him. Like I was that before this happened, but now I owe him as well. So I like him, and he always thought of me as a friend, maybe. But now I also feel obliged to help him. I don't only like him, so.
And
maybe it's a deep friendship, maybe.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Deep, long friendship. So
you've known each other, like
from the
not just work, like yes, work as well, but beyond that too.
From before work, so from early adolescence, I'd say. So before I got recruited to the military, and he became a data broker, we sort of spent our young teenage years in way up in the construction buildings or some ledges where young people aren't supposed to climb up, or I don't know. Maybe we were doing some sort of parkourish thing. I mean, he's an infiltrator, so stealthy infiltrator. So maybe that was one of my probably sidetracks when I was a teenager.
Yep.
A little bit.
And Catalina sounds like a woman.
Yeah, and we were in love, but then I was just about to say that she left me, but maybe I'm supposed to be the dick instead. So maybe I could be.
I mean, maybe she left you for a good reason, right?
Yeah, maybe we had different allegiances. So she left me due to my employer or someone, the ones that recruited me. Maybe. Oh no! Now I know. Catalina, Hans, and we were teenage friends, and we developed a romantic relationship early on. But as we grew up and got sort of different destinies, our destinies sort of took off in different directions. Catalina despised what I became, and she dumped me. And she never told me exactly why, but I have only like a vague feeling that we went in different directions. I think I'd say.
That's awesome. And also, the other people on those lists, you know them as well. Like each of you, you know these other people on this list as well. Just the relationship isn't like specific friendly or specific one of animosity.
Okay.
But if you ever in the game need, like what I need right now is like an ex-cryptographer.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Excellent. That makes sense.
Yeah. So let's hear about Vera.
I'm still waffling on these because there's possibilities, but I'm marked as my friend who's actually a friend, Raphael, Merc for hire. I think maybe we once worked a job together or something when I was fairly new to the area, and we didn't keep working together, but both, like, I respect her as being fairly solid and reliable, and we're sort of friends, though not colleagues.
Say, okay, I like working with this person, and does like a professional build relationship?
Less professional and more like the coworker that you worked a kind of crappy job with once, but you would totally go have a beer with them again. You just don't really want to go back to work in that place.
Oh, okay. Yep. You two bonded over a crappy job.
Yes.
Yeah. Nice.
And I'm gonna say that I am less friendly to Nor Crooked Sentinel. think probably I wasn't totally aware of all of the what's the word I'm looking for? Customs around how you would approach the Sentinels here, and didn't give him either proper respect or the sort of a bribe that a crooked Sentinel might be respecting, and so he's not terribly lenient of me.
Yeah. And Sentinels had some kind of description as well, right? Oh yeah, nice. Like they're basically your Sentinels are the main authority of Shelter One. Their authority does not extend past it. They sometimes venture beyond in search of criminals and culprits. Clothed in all white, reinforced wear for armor, they stand out from others and take their orders from the corporate council. So this is like the main police force, apparently. Does that sound cool to you, or does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That works. If
Yeah.
people aren't strongly opposed to me ticking off a crooked cop right away.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Then you get to choose your vice, and this can be difficult sometimes. So if we want to hold off on that and think about it, that's fine. It'll only really come into play once we're getting into downtime and you want to reduce stress again. Do you all know, or we should probably get into what Vice does in this game, right? So in between your stressful jobs, Vice is the thing that you indulge in to basically release, to get some kind of relief and get rid of stress again between missions. So this is like whatever it may be, right? People might go gambling and then they feel better again. Like that. It's very, very simplified in that sense. It's some kind of activity that is probably not really good for you if you overindulge in it, because that can happen as well. If you overindulge in your vice, then you get into trouble with your vice. And there are some typical examples on the character creation thing at the top right, which most of them could probably apply to the setting as well. But it's very open-ended. The important thing here is we need to pick a vice, and we can save what the details of those indulging in that vice looks like for later when it comes up during play. But you also get to name a vice purveyor, like someone who gives you access to indulging in that stuff. Does someone have like an immediate idea and know what their vice would be?
I have an idea.
Blades options the same as in Blades, or are there different ones for the setting?
There's no extra list in the setting, but you're like happy to cyberpunk the shit out of them, right? Like,
I have an idea. I think Samaria has a luxury vice, and I think it's actually like good data, like scientific works that are not like contaminated by like a corporate bias and stuff.
yeah.
And it's actually pretty hard to get these days because I mean the internet broke down, and it's not like it's good to get like pretty like recent, but at least like recent stuff before before like the institutions went.
And this could also involve like making sure studies, like verifying or falsifying data, right? Not just enjoying the data, but also putting work into seeing, okay, is this good data or not, like sorting that kind of stuff. Yeah, interesting. Who's the person who would be your purveyor for that? Do you have an idea? Or
I think it's let's see. I'm just gonna have a small look at.
So there is this big corporation. It's just called Information, that is part of the Shelter One City Council.
Yeah, I think I probably have like a guy in there. A name, right? Let's see. I think it's a woman. Her name is Liu. I only know her by her first name. And I have like a contact on her. I meet her personally, but I don't like. The agreement is to not
leave a trail, or yeah. Well, how do you spell her name?
Liu.
Yeah. And I assume she probably does it because it's actually valuable for someone to look at the data and write that they know, okay, this is data that's actually been verified, this, stuff like that. Of course, it shouldn't go outside of the corporation.
Yeah, I do think that's actually it. Like, I think the reason is that Samaria is actually pretty, like, it's like difficult to verify this data without having like the previous body of work and knowledge, and there's not a lot of people who has that. So I think like it's probably like freeloading of my work doing that. Just like, oh yeah, I verified the data, but it was really like just like, so that's like the quid pro quo here. So Mary actually like gets the information back to her as well.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. What about the other two? Do you have an idea? What would be like? What does leisure time look like, right? What are the things your characters need to do to really blow off steam or something like that?
I'm seeing Marco as maybe an obliged person. Like, he has some sort of ties to the forge townspeople outside.
Is that Marco?
Sorry?
Marco,
yeah. So I'm seeing, like, I had an idea that maybe he could feel like, let's say there are some sort of fluting valves or something that controls water levels in the lower levels of the outer forged areas that sort of have some mechanical problems that he feels obliged to get going mechanically, so the people outside doesn't drown at certain times when the tides come in or something like that.
What do you have a day job as a plumber?
No, maybe they are dysfunctional. So I don't know. Maybe that turns out to be a little bit more plumbery, as you say. I was just like I'm not sure how far sort of how well managed is the infrastructure outside the Shelter One. Is it?
Well, outside it isn't at all, right?
Of a high level area post.
Well, cut out for me.
Yeah, sorry. So how well functioning is the infrastructure around, outside and around Shelter One?
So
is it
outside of Shelter One, there may be like little pockets of people who manage to organize something, right? But they're small and often hidden away and stuff like that. Directly outside of the city, like no one would want to really live there anymore, because you're like one example is if you look at your character sheets, there's an item called screen, and that's basically if it's a bright day and you go into the sun, you're not protected at all by the atmosphere at times anymore. So this could be a thing where you actually have to expend load to get screen to not basically burn up in sheer sunlight.
All right.
So that's how hostile it can be outside at times.
Okay, yeah.
But most of the times it's raining anyway, so it's not that bad.
Yeah. Okay.
That's kind of,
well, people are living in the forge areas, aren't they?
yeah.
Yeah. So so my idea was to have some sort of malfunctioning infrastructure where he sort of, maybe there are old neighbors or old even relatives to him that he feels obliged to help and to sort of help them survive the day. So I was thinking maybe, activating, like sneaking up to some sort of control tower or something like that, where he has to manually activate some sort of maybe plumbing function to drain the area from water or something like that, and nobody does it because it's not highly prioritized, but he does it out of obligation. Like, it's the only thing that will keep the people in the area from actually drowning. So if he doesn't, nobody will, and they will perish. Something like that. Will that work? Or is it too primitive?
Well, we can see what the details look like in play. What I wrote down for me is basically you have the obligation of helping support the infrastructure in Forge communities.
Yeah, that works well.
Yeah. Who's like the need one vice purveyor, like the one giving you access to follow that obligation, which might be a little bit challenging here.
Yeah, maybe it's a sort of maybe it's a manager for maybe a robotic maintenance system or something like that. That he
supplies you with like the scrap parts that would have gone and be recycled. But you get to buy them off of him cheap or something like that for the Forge communities. And
maybe, exactly. And if he needs something, maybe I help him to keep the system alive with my.
Well, that's like your vice provider is someone who gives you access.
Okay.
They might have some reason or motivation for. If you overindulge, it could happen that they revoke their access, and then you're there without access to your vice, which is the thing that helps you relieve stress, and that'll be something in play.
Okay, so if this purveyor will actually need something from me in order to give me access, or
it'll come up and play, right?
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
As the current state, you have some kind of arrangement that works out for the both of you, which is cool for now. I do still need a name for him. You can also leave him to be named by me.
I was just standing still. Mr. Sullivan.
So what does Vera do?
I think Vera is sort of luxury, but in the sense of looking for things from before the world was taken over by acts of God. Like
collecting trinkets. from the world before or something like that?
Yeah, like trinkets or like unmodified food stuff. Like there's a lot of Jane Hackett around vegetables. It looks like she probably is very interested in heirloom seeds, that kind of thing. Just kind of junk in a lot of ways, but hard to come across.
Yeah, nice.
So it's luxury in the sense that it's not actually essential, and it's probably expensive or difficult to come across.
Nice. How do you who gives you access to that now? And it's not, you don't need to have it, right? You need access to it. Is that correct?
Yes. I think I probably know someone who has probably like a sideline on their regular job, has kind of a not quite fence operation, but kind of things that may appeal to certain odd people that you have to ask for specifically, sort of thing, where I'm one of their regulars who has very weird interests, and they just
Okay.
notice it side for me.
Do you have a name for them?
I'm gonna say Reshma.
Marisha or?
Reshma, Reshma.
Yep. What so what does Arishna do? It's like a guard at a wherever, like, is there a warehouse where the stuff like this is just kept because it's useless, but it's still, well, there's some historic value?
I was thinking just like a junk dealer, but I love the, yes, this just happened to fall off a truck and you can have it. Please don't ask any questions about how I came across it, sort of thing. So yeah, she totally has some kind of job, maybe yes, like
I mean,
not
there
totally
might be
sure the
like
structure here.
super rich collectors of this kind of stuff, and they only go for what's really fancy and not like everyday memorabilia.
True. And I'm primarily concerned with purity over value. So
Yeah.
yeah, maybe she's actually is a fairly high-end purveyor of oddities and has some sort of, I don't know, like almost sounds like maybe museum connections nearly, where these things probably shouldn't be floating around, and yet I get a hold of them.
Yeah, nice. Cool. Yeah, and then it's record your name, alias, and look. If I think you've already done that, we'll get you to introduce with looks and stuff when we actually start. But we can now jump over to crew creation. So I'm going to open that up. So choose a type of crew. We have done that. You all see them on the Roll20 sheet down there, right? Oh, I think it's the easiest to just keep track of it on there. Choose an initial reputation and lair. Choose how other underworld factions see you. So the suggestions are still ambitious, brutal, daring, honorable, professional, savvy, subtle, or strange. And this is more of how the rest of the world perceives you are than you necessarily have to be.
So from reading the comment sheet, it says we were comets, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. It says with scroungers and thieves. So that's our sort of thematic.
Sounds actually very close. Like the way you made your characters, they all would fit into this scenario quite well, I feel.
Are we honorable thieves or professional or very street smart?
Or rather, perceived as such, right?
Yeah, perceived, yeah.
Yeah, I could see like both honorable and ambitious is always like a candidate, I guess.
Ambitious,
depending.
maybe we're taking gotten ourselves into a little bit too big problems, maybe.
I mean, it's always an interesting choice in that way.
Yeah, agree. That works with me. Ambitious.
Works for me.
Ambitious it is. Ambitious it is.
Yes. Is that cool, Ryan? Is that okay, Ryan, with you?
Oh, yeah, I said yes.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay, cool.
Cool. So I'll note down ambitious. It's too big. It's a little bit ambitious. We go. Okay. I mean, you already know that you have one special ability that no one else has as such, right? Maybe we want to talk about that for a moment, because that might just play into this as well. Because the crews come with something right off the bat. And what Comets come with is solar punk. Due to hard-won experience, you have devised a method to trap and extract components from acts of God that make it a viable form of fuel. Take 3 stress to use this specialized method after you have surmounted it as an obstacle. So this might go back to the, like, my initial thought is, well, this must go back to the works of Samaria.
Absolutely. Oh, if you think so, of course.
That but might not, right? I'm asking you, but that's kind of the obvious thing.
Makes sense to me. See, Michael?
Yeah, I like also Echoes from the Past is very fitting with both.
Oh, yeah, what I'm saying is you get solar punk.
Yeah. I was looking ahead.
For free, yeah.
Cool. Have you devised some sort of some experiment that has given us or you access to exotic fuel in some way?
I actually think it was like it was developed to be used as like some kind of prevention, like energy extraction method for making for like climate for like taking energy out of the system for like prevention causes. But we never like finished it in time. But now we can use it for like to take out energy out of extract energy.
It's some experimental tech.
Yeah.
Because what's valuable to remember, I don't think I've mentioned this yet, is in the setting, there's one faction that's called Tracers, and they are basically they're basically headhunters for people who contribute to the worsening of climate change. So that also means any form of energy source that's dirty is illegal. But your special ability says it's a viable source of fuel. So that is a difference there. But that might be important to keep in mind for other decisions, right? If you want to have something that's diesel or gasoline powered, that's going to put you on the map for the law enforcement. Yeah, but we can continue down with creation. The next step is establish your hunting grounds. Look at the map. Oh, we don't have a map. But we kind of need to decide what kind of flare you have, or maybe your lair is your airship. It could be. That would make sense to because your lair also gets hidden. Then you already have kind of the stealth technology. We spoke about this at the beginning. Is that where you want to go, or do you have other ideas?
I mean, does hunting ground work the same way as in Blades in this game?
Yeah. So we it gives you a free gather information on scores relating to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That does
we're skulking around there, lurking, and go about our sort of crew.
This poses the question of what have you actually been doing as a crew?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you working together, and why are you three functioning together this way? Enables opportunities that wouldn't be there for each of you individually.
Have we, by this experiment that Samaria has sort of put into action?
Yeah, maybe.
Sort of found that we need some access to some sort of obscure or just very rare chemical or something like that we don't have access to normally. So we actually skulk around and hunt around for getting, infiltrating, finding, and sort of stacking up on that, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Do we have an investor, a possible investor in this tech, or?
That's actually a special ability in getting an investor.
Okay. All right, cool. So.
Yeah, and I also think Samaria would be pretty hesitant to have corporate money in that. But that's a cool thing to do in play.
Yeah. So settle on your lair is your airship. Okay. Who did you steal that airship from? That's a big question then.
Stole it, huh?
Sorry,
it has to come from somewhere, right? You didn't build it yourself.
What did you say, Matthias? I didn't catch you when you said something about the airship.
So,
what was that?
Well, who did you steal it from, right? Because I'm assuming you stole it from someone, or at least you stole the technology to make it stealthy. And look at the list of factions.
It's a research vessel that was a part of a research project that we hijacked or sort of infiltrated and which you, Samaria, sort of built your new experiment on. So maybe it was lost when an act of God took place, and we sort of found it in very bad shape, restored it, and maybe hacked it, so it was untraceable, something like that. But it's still stolen, like it should be returned to its former owners, maybe.
Yeah. So the question here is, who from who? Right? There's this list of factions. You actually have to pick a faction.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of like it being maybe we actually found it doing like an act of God, but when we found it, somebody reclaimed it, so it's like stolen that way.
Yeah.
Split piece. What is that? A consortium of gene hack engineers are farmers who joined the underground black market and started policing themselves rather than work for. Now they're the main competitors for. Oh, a bit heavy right now, maybe.
Yeah, Nourish is basically the big Shelter One mega corporations that feeds everybody, and these are like small tier competitors. So they are already tier 2, so they're not to be trifled with from your point of view.
Oh, look at the porters, a group of people on the Whispering Isles who are employed by Fragment to take retrofitted heavy lift ships out to sea to locate and bring back large icebergs for use in the Reach. Maybe it's one thing, like a smaller vessel tied to one of those heavy lift ships.
Yeah, they probably do
essentially
have
stole like a tug for these giant lift ships.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
cool. The question there is, oh yeah, you start out with two credits. How did you deal with them? So in this case, if you didn't pay anything, like there was maybe this, I was supposing you stole it, right? But in a sense, maybe you didn't steal it, you paid them, but then it's going to cost you 1 coin or 2 coin to get a +1 status with them. If you want to go along with the idea that you actually refurbish it for yourselves and then kept it for yourself, then you get -1 status with the porters.
And I know what Samaria would say, but fuck no.
Would these be the porters, or I didn't catch that, or is this someone else? For instance, yeah,
it's a crew creation. You just have to decide how you dealt with getting that airship.
I mean, it's stolen, so we shouldn't pay anything, right? Or am I?
I think just out of character, I like the idea of the porters being annoyed with us.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Is that what you meant, Michael?
Good.
Yeah, I also think like it's the whole concept of it being stolen is ridiculous to Sam. It's like, it's not stolen. We found it in the fucking. I mean,
yeah.
I'm here telling you it's stolen.
Yeah, you made sure it didn't sink into the ocean, was lost forever, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
-1 status then.
Yep. That's cool. Actually looking if I did this. Yeah, and then you get to choose another special ability out of the list. So there's the classic Born to Steal, which just gives everybody an action rating to either Ghost, Finesse, or Modify.
I really like Echoes of the Past for both like Samaria and for Vera. It was like the like fascination with like things from the past, which I mean it fits very nicely in, I think.
I agree. Sounds like a good one to me.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we found something old and really some sort of old remnant technology that really made a mark on us, or
I think it's just that we have like a lot of knowledge about like weird old tech in between us. Like we all like both. Yeah, probably like I think like all of us is well, all of us has kind of gotten that exposure to like some area and whereas like weird things for old stuff.
Yeah.
Old weird technology that nobody really understands anymore. But it's like, yeah, I mean, getting from the museums and old research and all that stuff. I mean, it's a lot of.
So we've been around a bit then. So we've seen our share part. Or have we found some sort of treasure trove with a lot of ancient things gathered, collected?
It sounds like a combination maybe of Samaria Broad like still has like some of those pure data slabs with like actual good information about how weather patterns function in the extreme and stuff. And we have like with Vera someone who has very practical knowledge on how to survive that kind of stuff, and maybe make use of old tech and things. Yeah. Cool. Then you get to assign crew upgrades. So your crew has 2 upgrades pre-selected. Choose 2 more. One faction helped you get an upgrade. You get +1 status with them, or you spend 1 coin for +2 status. One faction was harmed when you got an upgrade. Take -2 status with them, or spend 1 coin for only -1 status instead. So
could this be could this be a completely different faction than the porters? Like,
yeah. And first, maybe it's worth discussing what kind of crew upgrades are actually interesting to you. So you already get airship and hidden, and you get training prowess. But if you have quarters, then you can actually live in your airship. That might be nice, potentially, right? That makes you much more independent. Otherwise, I'm going to ask you, so what do you crash in the time in between? And you're going to be like, well, live in the gardens on the street or whatever. Like, that's a thing to think about as an example. But maybe you also want to have like quality. What quality means is basically if there's a tier difference between you and the ones you're fighting, you're lower, you're at a disadvantage. But if you have something of fine quality, you can make up 1 step of disadvantage. So that's maybe also interesting if you look at your items, right? If someone with a fine handgun is able to compete at the same level as you are +1 above. And if you want a cohort to start out with, basically, right? Well, we want to have some NPCs that are on our side who can, for example, pilot the ship. That's going to cost both of those upgrades. Is there anything that jumps out at you?
I like quarters for the idea of us just camping on this hidden airship. But...
yeah. Would that be like one from a faction that helped you get an upgrade? Maybe.
Maybe it's just like, oh yeah,
and more like in the sense of, well, because they let you off easy over there, you had the money to put in quarters into the airship. Like, it doesn't have to be directly they gifted you quarters, which can be like, well, here's a bunch of furniture, which is kind of weird, right?
No, I think the quarters were there from before, but they like helped us like fix the life support.
Yeah.
I liked mirrored for this. Maybe.
Which one, Mikael?
The mirrored. The people who are similar to Traces have given up their identity and now wear masks in order to reflect the visage of the oppressors back at them. The various headquarters are hidden and their emotions have been to release information damaging to corporations.
And you don't even know why they like you. Is that the thing?
Yeah, I'm sure we're like a unknowing pawn in their big scheme at this point. Like tier 0 nobodies.
Does it sound cool for everyone?
Yeah. It's cool.
I can kind of see how some of our interest in antiquated stuff might be useful to them, but I like the idea that we don't really know why they're being so nice to us.
Yeah. So quarters. You can still, and yeah, and you get another crew upgrade.
And it's always a winner with secure quarters, maybe.
Yeah. I was thinking also a little bit like we have 4 sessions, right? Some will come into play a little bit more easily than others, maybe.
So, I don't know, like underground maps and passkeys. I think that still needs to be replaced with something that makes more sense in the setting. But obviously, this could be the thing that gets you in and out of shelter without like a big hassle. So I don't know where you're like.
So you mean like hidden? You mean like a hidden layer or secure?
No, like the path, right? How do you get in and out of shelter? Because you want to use your, I presume, your airship to go steal stuff. But do you actually, like, where is the airship actually parked in between? Is that a hidden location? And if you want to move into and out of the city, you somehow need to get in and out of there without becoming suspect to, like, what are they smuggling in and out, and where are they even going, or something like that. Might be an idea. Comet rigging can also be pretty useful. The question is, yeah, secure is interesting. The question is, with secure, in some ways, hidden already makes that right. You don't need to lock your door if no one knows where it is.
Exactly. And it says here that we could relocate it if it's noticed or found out. Discovered, yeah.
Or another pip into airship itself that gives the airship like more durability. That it gets armor, I think. So
how fresh are we as a crew? Have we what do you say? Have we spent a lot of time with each other, or are we just recently organized?
I think it would make sense if we've known each other for a while, but maybe not having been like this. The finding of the ship was really kind of like our first mission together. Now that we have the ship, I mean,
yeah,
we can't like share the ship, split the ship in three. So
true. No, I'm in for that. What do you say, Ryan?
Just imagining that we have stripes down it for this chunk is mine, and you can have that bit, and don't touch my stuff. But yeah, I like the idea that we're all known quantities. We just haven't been running Comet schemes together that long.
Good. All right. So should we? Matthias, did you mean that the carport could actually be sort of a way to get into the shelter, or was that something completely different? I didn't catch what you said there in the beginning.
I mean, I meant the underground maps and passkeys could be a good justification of how to get in and out of shelter unnoticed and into your airship and stuff like that. Or maybe it's a hidden identity to be allowed to park your airship under a different designation somewhere.
Well, what did you say underground? I can't find that. What?
It's right here. Wait a second. Here.
Or am I?
Are you looking at Roll20?
Yeah, I have sort of. I have heaps of small windows open. Oh, okay, sorry. Now, all right. So you have it open there. Thanks. Okay.
Or airship. If you give the second dot on airship, then it's more durable. It has armor of some kind or something like that, or at least it can take a hit before it starts to fall apart.
Okay.
Which can be important if you want to drive it into tornadoes and stuff.
True. Okay, I watched the wrong.
yeah, that makes sense given who we stole it from.
Do you want to go with that, or anybody else have a strong opinion on something else?
I was looking at the wrong place. I'm reading up here a bit, but okay. Hidden airship. Yeah. What do you say about secure? Or
I'm fine with either.
yeah.
Really.
I don't. Doesn't matter. Now, okay, there. All right. Underground maps. Let's go with that then. That sounds really cool. Like almost smugglerish.
Yeah, and maps would also mean other kinds of maps as well. Right? If you need that as justification.
Which one do you want for Ryan? Yeah.
I like the sound of that, us having, kind of secret info on where we can park and how to get into places. And
Yep.
You, Michael? I was looking at the wrong places, so I couldn't track what you said before.
Yeah, I had the handout open and was looking at the layer upgrades and not even realizing that this was on the play mat.
Yeah, the layer. Yeah, they're different. That's true. So underground map keys, maps and passkeys it is. Then the question is, who did you take them from? Or who was worse off because you had them and they didn't, I guess. Doesn't necessarily have to be stolen. It's just very, very convenient, very easy to go by that. And remember, they will be at -2 with you. Unless you spend a coin.
So we're the porters are hostile to us, if I got it correct, and the mirrored as well.
So no, mirrored. They like you.
Oh, they
You
like
don't know
us.
for what reason.
Okay.
Like
That's
+1 means, oh yeah, no, we're like kind of friendly with them. +2 means, okay, well, like we're willing to make like good deals with each other. +3 would be we're allies.
Okay.
And the same the other way around. Like -1, yeah, I don't really like the looks. -2 is like, no, if we can, we like put stones in their way. And -3 is we're actively trying to destroy them. We're at war with each other. And being at war with someone is pretty costly. So you wouldn't necessarily want to start out with that.
How about we have stolen them from the carrion, like hired mercenaries, so they're a little bit dangerous?
Sounds perfect for like a 4 session.
Yeah.
Have some good heat. Make it interesting.
The flickers.
I was looking at sort of lightweight enemies, but carrion is we really don't want to piss off, so let's definitely be annoying to them.
Is it an old, disbanded, but still temporarily used underground section, or is it something that we have sort of more deactivated and hijacked from them?
So I mean, underground, it isn't necessarily like that. Can be metaphorical. Underground in the sense of it's not something that's officially on the books or something like that as well, right?
Okay, so it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be related to our lair. It could just be a passageway as well into Shelter 1.
Yeah, it could also be that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I well, makes sense. Like there's it's like a pretty like detailed map of like different ways to get into Shelter 1, which not really. I mean, if it's gonna be stolen from these important people, it must be a very useful map.
Yeah, well, and we have the pass keys to get past whatever security they might have on the ways too. So.
Yeah, that's cool. So the carrion, you're at -2 with them unless you want to pay. But you might like there's a 6th step to also spend some credits still. The last step is choose a favorite contact. Mark the one who is a close friend, longtime ally, or partner in crime. Record the faction status changes related to your contact. One faction is friendly with your contact, take +1 status with them. One faction is unfriendly with your contact, take -1 status with them. At your option, increase the intensity of the faction's relationship with your contact. Oh, that's actually optional. So you haven't spent any coin or cred. So you'll start out with 2 credits at the start of the game, which is also good to have.
Should we have someone outside the constellations that we've discussed so far? So we have some sort of more.
So there's an actual list
ally.
to pick from, right?
Yeah. I was thinking maybe some Saria. If you have, is it Samsaria or is it Samaria? Samaria. Like, do you need help or sort of resources from someone specific for your research or experiments or something like that we need to be on good foot with?
Could be. If that would be maybe like an engineer would make sense then probably. But I'm open to if there's anyone who stands out for anyone else here as well. Or maybe even a deal broker, because we have to sell this energy, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See in my character sheets. You just pick one.
Yeah, maybe if nobody has any like better ideas, I think maybe like have it be the deal broker. That sounds like an interesting contact to have. I mean, it's
Yeah,
like
Yeah, then you don't need to worry too much about, okay, so who do we sell this stuff to? Or okay.
True.
So Hugo, the deal broker, and who is he allied with? Like, who does he have good relationships with, and who does he not have good relationships with? And do you already know you want to go for the +1 or +2, -2?
It doesn't matter to me, to be honest. I mean, if we found a faction that we really felt connected to, that could maybe matter. But I don't see anyone that sort of stands out really. What do you? Not unless we want to sort of build on what we have said so far.
We're just working in other factions. I feel like the Red Leaves, it seems related because they're antiquarians trying to get extra lost knowledge, sort of like extra untainted data for Samaria, or extra garbage for me.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, nice. So there. You want to go with +1 or +2? And who's the one who set out for Hugo?
So +2. They like us.
I think so too. You should also always go for the. It's really hard.
If we mess with it
by one of the least powerful factions.
Yeah, we've been very good at this and strategic in this.
underdogs.
Very surprisingly, Samaria is actually the most socially adept of us. That was very surprising. I was like, what? Just looking at your sheets.
So, who has it out for Hugo?
Maybe like the authority faction.
Oh, one of the 3 big ones that aren't listed here. I just realized.
Oh man, maybe we should. I mean,
like maybe you want to just go with like he had some gang trouble.
Yeah, maybe. I kind of like constructed chaos. Not them to be our enemies, but it would be fun to have them in the fiction. Like
yeah, and -2 is just like they're like right. -2 doesn't need to have the consequence that it worsens.
It makes sense also that they could have it out for Hugo. He's probably also selling like gas and diesel and stuff, which they don't like very much.
Although their cycles run on gas and diesel, even though they ought not to. So they're polluters.
Yeah, they have like hidden exhausts and stuff. Like, yeah. They can't go loud if they want to.
Okay.
But maybe he take them over on a deal or something. Right.
Yeah, it's just my selfish interest to see these bikers because they seem fun and interesting.
I think so too. Okay. Yeah, I think let's take another short break. We're scheduled to go up to the full hour. Is that fine for everybody, by the way? Just checking in. Didn't really do it. And then we'll talk a little bit about the system and what like the opening scene is going or looks like. We can get a little bit into that so that for next time we're primed and are full in the action.
Yeah, sounds good. So 40 more minutes, about half an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
See you in 5.
See you in 5.
Okay.
All right, we're back. So I think here's what's been happening. For one, we definitely need a name for the airship, but I'm gonna leave that up to you. That's like naming a ship. That needs some thinking over, I think. But I think you came across a some valuable information. And that is some very genuine data about a oncoming act of God. So, and it's a kind of like, I think what happens a lot is, or what's more common are certain kinds of huge, humongous storms. But this is an act of God of a different kind. It's not that easy to spot, and this data in itself is rare. But I think you, Samaria, you got your, like, once you got your hands on it, you were able to discern that it's the oncoming of a of tectonic fissures that go through the reach. And so yes, very much actual fissures where the ground opens up, except that it's not like something you can directly perceive, because the ground opening up means shock waves in itself, and the billowing forth of magma and lava and cloud ashes. But you got the information that led you to believe, okay, it's going to be forming in this time frame somewhere. So you could actually catch it in its beginning stages, where it's not at its uttermost brutal force yet. And it's kind of like the background picture in Roll20 right now. That's kind of what you're expecting. Basically, yes, fissures opening up in the ground. That's not something you will be seeing, though. What you will be seeing is basically a tidal wave of ash and lava inside of it, and the ensuing storms and lightning that's going to be part of it. Yes, sure. So that's the thing that you went out to hunt for. The question now is, I believe you. So two questions there are: you got your hands on this information by way of the flickers, or better, by beating the flickers to it. Right? The flickers are underground private investigators for hire that are motivated by the truth more than cred. They want scoops that they can disseminate to the masses via flashware. That's some kind of futuristic smart paper, which is obviously will be tried to be suppressed by the authorities, because like those even rarer ones will be cause for more panic, much more, and stuff like that. But you got your hooks into it even before they were able to snatch up that information. So the question is, how did you beat them to that information, and how did you get away with it? And maybe like, if you have a good answer, yes, but maybe you had like the other two do something practical to actually get your hands on it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like it's really not that difficult to like predict when tremors like that come if you have the right equipment. like a seismograph or something. Of course, we didn't have a seismograph.
But someone somewhere maybe measured.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We heard a rumor about it, and we knew someone was keeping an eye on it, but wasn't planning to let anyone know.
It's especially not you, right?
Oh, exactly.
Like, it's not like you have the credit to pay for it. So
But
how did you get that information from them? Sounds like you either stole it or you forced it, or
I'm seeing a cool thing here. If you, Samaria, if you have sort of envisioned something with your experiment or your research, and have sort of sold that to me and Vera, maybe we have sort of maybe you're a truth sayer to us. So we want to help. We want to make your vision become known or something like that.
I think like actually that the people who had the seismograph didn't have the faintest idea how to use it. Like, I don't know, it's like a thing, looks like some kind of scientific old like scientific instrument. And I'm pretty sure like that's how I got in contact with Vera, because like I don't really know where to find that either, but I'm sure Vera does. Like, I mean, I'm just gonna say, okay, it's gonna look like this more or less, and you know the people to get a hand on that.
And normally a seismograph wouldn't interest me all that much, because what am I doing with a seismograph? But if I know you're after one, then I can track one down.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, awesome. So and so you stole it, or you maybe you just bargained, like that's not worth anything, or how did that?
I think it was driving a really hard bargain. Like, come on, this is junk. It doesn't even seem to work. It's just making these back and forth scritches. That's not what it's supposed to do, even though that's exactly what a seismograph is for. And paid, just pennies on the dollar for it.
Yeah, awesome.
So was this seismograph part of an old archive or somewhere, or in some disbanded research station, or just kept somewhere?
Yeah, maybe it was like salvaged from an abandoned research station out in some area that's inhospitable now, and probably should have moved on to somebody who could make use of it, except we got it instead.
Yay. Cool.
Yeah, so yeah, that's good to know. So I think we see you coming, like your airship actually coming in. I don't know if anybody has already a good idea for what your airship would be looking like. If you do, like, let us know. Like, feel free to think about that. But obviously the question is, like, who's the one piloting it, right?
I think I have the only finesse dot among the entire team, so I assume I'm piloting it.
Yeah. And I think you can already see the billowing smoke in the horizon, which indicates to you, yes, your guesses were right. This is forming now. You actually need to hurry up before it gets too out of control. Now, system-wise, the way this works is acts of God get a tier, very much like rituals get in terms of magnitude and Blades in the Dark. So I'm going to say this is a tier 3 act of God right now. Like, it's still like developing. It's gonna get worse. But you caught it. The whole idea was to catch it in a moment where it's still somehow accessible to you. Now, somehow accessible is kind of a relative term, because speaking of mechanics, if it's a tier 3 and you're tier 0, there's a huge difference between what you can achieve here. But there are ways for you to get around that. So I want to use this example to show a little bit of the system and how, or like what your options as players are when like odds seem unsurmountable and that kind of stuff. And also how everything requires you to work together as a group, set each other up and that kind of stuff. So if we look at the, like I made at the top here, this little slider chart to keep track of stuff. And if you remember, if you look at your special ability, right, to use your special ability, you need to, like after you've surmounted it, you can use it. So you need to kind of best the act of God first to be able to use the special ability to extract the fuel out of it. So to be able to do that, you need to kind of land a standard effect. And to get standard effect, you need to reach kind of the same tier that the act of God is. So if you're tier 0, you need to kind of bump yourself up to tier 3 in this one specific circumstance, this one set of specific circumstance in this moment, right at this time. There are a couple of ways to do that. But maybe let's talk fictionally how you feel like you would approach the situation, just fictionally speaking. And then I'll point out the parallels. Although, Mikael, you already have some experience and ideas from that as well.
Yeah. Samara would probably like go into her like data bank and look for the best way to approach this safely. I think I read something about this somewhere before.
Yeah, so that sounds like the actual action to surmount it would be a action of piloting or coming into. Maybe there's a spot in its wake where you need to get to where it's relatively stable, where you can operate from out of. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was what I was thinking. Like I just need to get some information for Vera to get an easier ride.
Yeah.
And that ties neatly into what I was thinking, trying to get close enough that we can interact with it, but not so close that we're caught up in all these clouds of, I don't even know what's in them, but can't be good for us.
Yeah. So the point of like getting this information of setting you up to at least be able, right? Your study would be a kind of setup action, and there are different types of ways you can do stuff together. One of them from teamwork is setup. When you set someone up successfully, they get one grade higher effect. So
could we be more? Could I also do that, or is it only one person who's setting up?
I think like what you can still like. I think it makes sense for. I mean, you can do other things to set up or like gain extra dice. Like it probably would make sense for you to help somehow in the later action where Vera is going to go in there.
I was thinking maybe collecting data from isolated sensors on somewhere outside their normal perimeters or something like that.
Your help will be needed later on in this.
All right. Okay.
Because
It's
so one way to increase the effect is to go and say, well, I'm going to do a setup action like this. Like I'm finding the most ideal vector to fly into this thing, right? Another way to increase the effect is to go like, well, I don't care. I'm just going to take a more a riskier approach to it. So you can push the entire thing from it's going to be risky flying into this into the wake of this thing to something more daring. Then it gets desperate, but also the effect gets pushed.
Okay. All right. Give me a notice when there's time to add on.
Yeah. We first need to see like how the setup actually looked like your study role, right?
Yeah. I was thinking that this triggers my seasoned ability. I've studied and experienced Act of Gods before. When I gather info regarding Acts of God, take +1 dice and effect.
Yes. So what I would say is like just gathering info on this is right. Your standard effect is you get this information, you open up the fictional positioning. The question is, what do you want for getting great effect on it?
I want it to be
We could go with, oh, well, it's just a super setup.
I want it to be reliable, like it's the same way for all of these instances.
Yeah. So it's lasting, like long term. Next time we don't. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you basically get an advantage if one of these ever rolls around again. Yes. Cool.
And what's the position?
There should be an option to choose that this is a gather information.
Is it? Oh, where is that?
If you click on study, the first fortune roll, and it's basically a fortune roll, right?
Yeah.
So there's no inherent risk in you studying this. Like we've set it up that this is a thing that's going to happen.
And that's a great effect.
Yep.
And 1 bonus die. Let's see. Whoop, whoop. Yeah.
Yeah, 4/5 is you get your standard effect in this case. So yes. So you're basically at tier 1 now versus the tier 3 that the storm has.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I sent it like the data package to Rare's screen, and like with the outline of where it would be good to go.
There's a simulated like follow these lines into the back of the clouds or something like that. Yeah. So this is like, yes, you're the one who has like the proficiency in flying this kind of stuff, Vera. But do you actually enjoy it? Is this like a thrill ride for you, or is this well, I'm the only one capable, so
I think that Vera did kind of like grumble, of course nobody here can fly this thing right now, but she secretly really enjoys flying it, especially in cases like this where there's potential for it to go really, really wrong. It's thrilling.
Yeah. So if we look at the position and effect outline I have again, if you would be at the same tier, you would be getting standard effect, right? But you're 2 tiers below that, so we actually move you over. So you're still at none at this point.
So there's no chance of this going right.
So the challenge here is like, okay, you're right now you wouldn't be able to do it unless you are willing to take more of a risk. Like say, well, this is a really tight window, and if not, it's going to like you get to describe how it would be worse if you push the situation. If you push your position to something worse to get a better effect. If we end up at limited, we only get like we're not fully there yet. Then something else still needs to happen before we get there.
So,
but
if I
yeah, further options. So that is one option is to push the position to get a better effect. You can and this you can do in addition is push yourself to get a better effect. And you pay 2 stress for that. So that's how you could actually get this to standard effect. To both push this position and push yourself.
and to push the position, I describe how it's actually worse than it looks.
Yeah, how you're taking more of a risk, right? Like this is like I'm sword fighting with them, and now I'm doing the lunge that will leave me completely open, but will surprise them together. Okay. That kind of.
Okay. So,
yeah.
In that case, Vera is totally following these plans we come up with, which requires getting just dangerously close to the cloud and kind of heading through a bit to. There's going to be a safer spot in there, but I have to angle through sort of the worst of it to get there. And this requires so much focus and dedication that she is singularly focused. I can't come up with synonyms right now on it, and throwing herself entirely into this feat of flying.
Yeah. So exactly. So this pushes it to desperate position, but also to limited effect. And this would mean, you kind of get to, but you're probably going to be at the edge of it, and you're still going to be at a severe disadvantage, but not fully there to actually do the thing you came there to do.
Okay. And I take 2 stress from this already, or do I wait on that?
No, because what you pay for is in position, right?
Okay.
Like when you're going to, like we haven't done this yet, right? You still need to be rolling for it, and once you do, the consequences can be much worse.
Okay.
So you can still push yourself in terms of I want to push the effect and pay 2 stress for it.
Oh, I thought that's what I was just doing with the.
No, that is you push the position to get a better effect, and yes, I need more focus. I completely focused on only this. Could be the stress that you're accruing. Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking that was pushing myself as well.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, we're speaking about the same thing.
Okay, cool. I wasn't sure if we were talking about the same or different mechanics.
Yeah. So you did both of those things. You pushed the situation and yourself. Yeah. So yeah. So now you're at standard desperate or desperate standard, and you could be making your roll. Here's the question: if someone can potentially assist you in that, here's the neat point: they only need to pay 1 stress to give you an additional die for this. Well, if you push yourself for a die, you need to pay 2 stress. So here's a question: if someone has an idea how they could be helping in fiction, like taking care of some other menial flying task, so that
I realized that I have a dot in finesse as well. I forgot about that, so maybe I could do some sensor work or something like that.
Yeah, that's probably more survey or something like that.
Survey, yeah, okay.
Like calling out like discharges in the clouds and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But for an assist, you only need to describe how you do it, and you give them a die.
Okay.
So and you pay 1 stress for that. You don't do an extra roll.
No, okay. But do I need to have a dot in?
Nah, for an assist, it's just like I'm giving a I'm saying I'm sure you'll do it, I'm
All
giving
right.
a motivational speech.
Okay.
That's right.
So I'm like, come on, Vera.
Well, you can do it. You can say like you're keeping an eye on the sensors and like dangerous.
So
I'll
I'll guide Vera throughout the hazardous route she picks, and I'll try to keep her on track, on par with the information that I'm fed from the sensors, which really stresses me out. But we'll hang in there, I hope. So I add a point of stress to me, and then
Vera, you get a bonus die to use.
So do I go ahead and roll now then, or?
Yes. Now,
Oh no.
well, the highest die is only one that counts. And a 4 is a success. So, desperate. A 4 or 5 as you do it, but there's a consequence. You suffer severe harm, a serious complication occurs, or you have reduced effect. But in this case, so here's what happens. Yeah, you do it, and I think what you also realize while doing it is you're putting an enormous amount of stress into the ship, because you need to basically, to catch the right window at the end of it, you need to do a super hard turn that's going to like, you all can hear creaking. You all need to like catch something, hold on to something as you like are almost on your side as Vera turns the ship around, and you hear something breaking, something that's in the direction of, oh well, shit, we're making this now, yes, but we won't get home like this with the ship functioning, even if we get out of this fine. Now you have options here. You can say, oh no, GM, I'm going to resist this, and this is how I'm going to resist it. And you can make a resist roll to basically prevent that consequence from ever coming true. Oh, two things. That's one part of it. The other part of it is, Franco, you, because you were assisting, right? You were concentrating on the sensors, and then there's this sudden hard turn that slams you against the instruments to your right, and you take level 1 harm. You can also resist that harm for yourself if you want to.
Yeah, I'll try, of course.
So how do you describe resisting it?
I have managed to.
Are you just tough, like nothing, like my head is hard?
No. I'm sitting in one of those engineer seats next to the sensors, I mean, it's an old ship and so on, and we haven't been able to fix everything inside yet. So I just like made a sort of temporary safety. The safety belts aren't really working, so I just like wire them around my leg or something like that, and makeshift.
Yeah, that sounds like you're resisting with insight then.
Yeah.
So you click on insight, and it'll do most of that for you.
Insight. Do I have any bonus die? No.
Most of the time you don't, unless you have a special ability.
Okay. Ouch.
So that's 4 stress.
Not so very good. I almost.
Yeah, you probably like feel like the tightening of like whatever, you tied yourself to,
Yeah.
closing off like the blood circulation, but it keeps you from banging your head into the side, so you don't take the level 1 harm. Vera, do you have an idea how to resist or do you even want to? Are you like, fine, we'll just need to crash land somewhere and fix this thing afterwards, but then it'll be fine. That's cool too.
So resist the damage occurring, or like try to prevent it? Or...
Yeah. So if you can describe to me like how you're like preventing it or resisting it, that it doesn't happen, or that it's just weakened that it happens, I'm going to tell you, well, that sounds like you're resisting with this attribute, and then it's going to maybe cost you some stress, but you don't have to suffer my gym bullshit, basically. That's the idea.
So as I hear the kind of creaking, crunching, I immediately try to pivot the ship a little to take the stress off that edge, and try to move with it a little so that we're not going to break the ship in half as we're flying through this.
Yeah, what would that be? That's probably insight too. Like feel for the ship. Yeah. So then you click basically. That's how the attributes function. They take the vertical slice of the first column, and that's how many dice it rolls for you.
Okay.
It's a 3, so that's 3 stress.
Oh no.
So you should be at 5 already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good thing I didn't stress.
But the good news is you're like in the perfect spot and the little channel behind it where the air currents is stable, so you can hold the ship, and you're now in a position to actually do what you came here to do, right? You surmounted the challenge that the Act of God gives you, so now you can actually make use of solar punk to, I don't know what this looks like, that's up to you, to extract the components that would make it for a viable form of fuel. If someone's able to take 3 stress to do this thing now. I don't know, do you like open up like flying compartments, and I don't know, you have an idea?
I think it's like some kind of like a rod that we put out, like with some kind of, I don't know, it looks like it's kind of like absorbing like the crazy like storm like thing that you see, like the electricity like buzzing around it. And I think Samaria can take stress for it.
And you're operating like dropping this down into the storm, or?
Yeah. Pretty much. Like we're in the middle of it, and you see, and we like lower that thing down, and then you see like the like this storm like kind of circling the thing, and like you see the electricity charges like going along the road up.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So for 3 stress, you do that. I think that.
Awesome.
And I mean, the exit is that was part of the previous roll, right? You surmounted it. You have a way to slip out of the stream in a more or less safe manner, and I think that's I don't know, is there something special you call to them when you're done, or how long does this actually take to gather the stuff? Do you actually need to fly like for quite an amount of minutes in the wake of this the earth ripping apart underneath you, cloud ash billowing out, and lightning? And
I don't think it takes a lot of time, actually. Like, I mean, there's an enormous amount of energy in this thing. It's just like getting in there, that's the issue.
Yeah, exactly. So very soon after, Vero, you get the signal from Samaria to that you can pull out, right?
It's like, get the fuck out of here.
And I think we get this last shot with the airship like pulling up, coming out of it, and we're seeing like the way this thing is traveling in a more or less straight line down the valley, for us to look at what kind of destruction it has wreaked upon the Reach next time.
Cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for playing with me. This was my first game for the Gauntlet. So.
Thank you. Awesome, Matthias.
Yeah, I mean, Blades has a bit of a setup time to it if you play it by the rules, so it's a bit of a thing. But I hope it also gave you kind of a handle on what the setting is, what actions are going to be about, and like my question also would be, how did you find like the last part about, like, I very meticulously went through, these are like all the options that you can use, and to show you, okay, you're maybe tier 0 and you're going up against something higher, but if you want to do it, you can do it. Like, there's always like some way to get to what you want to achieve, if you want to, like, if you're willing to pay for it, basically.
Yeah,
I like it.
was good, I think. I look forward to continue playing with these characters. Seems fun. But I gotta skip real quick. I am a little bit over
We're
time.
over already.
Sure.
Then I'll stop the broadcast and we can hang out a bit if anyone else wants to. Okay. Thank you again. Bye.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.